Immediately after the division of the earth into nations with their own lands and languages, the Genesis record reports that the whole earth was of one language and one speech. It is obvious that this statement and the verse immediately preceding it are in contradiction. The earth cannot have a single universal language and be divided into 70 or more languages at the same time. As we noted previously, most biblical commentators resolve this contradiction by reversing the sequence of events. The division of nations and tongues in chapter 10 follows the story of the tower and confusion in chapter 11. But there is another solution which does not rearrange the biblical narrative. The most logical solution to the issue is to take the biblical narrative at face value. This would require that the sequence of events, the division of nations, the building of the tower, the confusion of tongues, and the scattering occurred in the order of the narrative. It would also require that a translation of the text include this sequence as the basic context for interpreting the original text. In other words, a proper translation of the text should not force a rearranging of the events of the text. With this in mind, the original Hebrew concerning the so-called common language can be translated without resorting to a force fit. The Hebrew word translated as the earth or the world is Eretz. It is preceded by kol, meaning all, the whole, or entire. When combined, the two are usually translated as entire earth, or whole world. These translations are reasonable if they are in harmony with the context of the totality of the text, but, as is clear, they contradict the previous verse and indeed the entire previous chapter. Eretz has a wide range of meanings. It can refer to the earth or world, but it can also have more restricted meanings, such as land, country, region, or tribal territory. In fact, Eretz is used extensively in both chapters 10 and 11, and is translated as both earth and land depending upon context. The last verse of chapter 10 closes out the account of the division of families into nations and tongues. Verse 2 of chapter 11 begins the story of the tower. Verse 1 of chapter 11 serves as a bridge between chapters 10 and 11 and provides the initial context for the story of the tower. Given that Eretz can refer to the earth as a whole or in part, such as land, the question becomes, how is Eretz to be understood and translated in this verse? Does Eretz refer to the entire planet, or does it refer to a region of earth? To translate Eretz as earth creates contradictions requiring a rearranging of the course of events. A translation of land, on the other hand, requires no such legerdemain. The narrative proceeds without contradiction. If the Eretz in verse 1 is translated as land, then it becomes a reference to the land identified in the very next verse, Shinar. The one language and one speech becomes the common language not of the entire earth, but of those people who found and populated the land of Shinar and then built the tower. In such a context, the stories of the tower and confusion make more sense. The tower was not built by everyone on the planet, and the confusion did not affect all of humanity. The events were local and not global.